Welcome, friends. Today, we are doing another fragrance rotation video for the week ending the 16th of February, 2025. Scandalous. That is right, my friends. Once again, I have returned to you, this time with another fragrance rotation video. Let's see, what has this week been involved? What runs through this week? Is there a thread? Not really. Not if I'm being honest. They're all good. If that's a qualifying attribute, you know, they're all good. I like them all, you know. So yeah, we'll go with that. Let's start, shall we? On Monday, I did something absolutely mental, and I wore The Night by Frederic Malle. Yes. It's outrageous. It's the only one that doesn't reek of amber woods. It's 11 years old now. I can't believe this has been out for 11 years. That's crazy. This is the original formula, original bottle, original everything. And you can tell because the label is thinner. On the other Desert Gems, it's a bit thicker. On this one, it's thinner. And I made sure I got that one. Rose, saffron, oud. Does it sound familiar? Bit of incense as well. Possibly some more kind of woody notes in there too. But really, I just get a massively beshitted oud. It's a big, beshitted, smooth oud. It's very nice once it dries down. It dries down. Not so fecal. It's smooth and a little bit sweet and rich and deep and interesting. And I actually really, really like it in very small doses. I've only worn this once or twice this autumn and winter, and that's about right. That's about it. You know, can't imagine wearing this every day. You know, wouldn't want to either. I bought this when it was much cheaper than what it is now, about 50% cheaper than what it is now, actually. So I'm pretty pleased about that. The price of this is absolutely crazy now. It's like 1,200 quid or something silly. It's very good. It's a natural oud. It doesn't have that screechy, gritty, chalky amber wood thing that's absolutely foul that I hate. The rose is good. It's an oud fragrance made by a Western perfumer. That's what I was always asking for, and it is suitably good. It's just the price is obscene. Excuse me whilst I hydrate. Performance is nuclear. If you get it on skin, you are in trouble. You may be shut down by the Atomic Energy Agency, International Atomic Energy Agency, because the sillage will cross borders. So please beware of that. You could be in for a fucking 48-hour wear if you actually spray that too much. With projection. Okay. Next up is another oud, but an entirely different oud, but not as the night would have you know it. This is the re-release of the brilliant M7. This is M7 Oud Absolu. Do not fear this reformulation. Do not fear this re-release. It is tremendous. This is one of my favourite fragrances. One of my favourite fragrances of the century. Mandarin, an absolutely beautiful mandarin note. I love me a mandarin note. Syrupy, slightly sweet, orangey, boozy, lovely. Goes really well with orange blossom. Excuse me. And there's allegedly oud. I don't really get anything like oudy, if I'm being honest. I thought it was always a gimmick, but not to worry. Patchouli, get a lot of patchouli, a lot of myrrh. Labdanum, get a lot of labdanum. It's a big ambery, sweet, slightly fruity, orangey. Oh, I love this shit so much. You can see by the dent I've put in the bottle. Such a good perfume. But don't be afraid to purchase this in its current iteration. Somehow the reformulations of this are absolutely tremendous. Don't know how that's occurred when everything else is absolute shit. this has kind of stood the test of time. So, yes, there it is. It has the notes on the side: mandarin, wood, oud wood, patchouli, cyst, which is labdanum, and myrrh. Okay, next up we have something entirely different. Entirely different, but still absolutely brilliant. This is vintage Fahrenheit. I'm thinking of carrying this over into spring because I want to use the rest of what's in this bottle. We're in the danger zone. When a perfume gets this low, you should not be looking to conserve it. You should already have your backup if you don't want to run out. If you baby a perfume with this little left in the bottle, it will oxidize much quicker because of the increase in surface area, oxygen to perfume thing, and it will oxidize quicker, and it will change, and it will go off quicker eventually. So at this point, I am looking to try and get this used up before the summer. So I'm going to carry it through into spring. You will see behind you most of the bottles just sitting there have a lot more than half left in. When there's 2/3, 3/4, you're fine. When it's below half, you want to be looking to speed it up. When it's below 1/3 and 1/4, you want to be using that shit as soon as possible, in my opinion. Don't blame me if you don't do that and come to me and say, why didn't you say? I did say. This vintage version is far superior to the modern one, I'm afraid to say. Unlike M7 Oud Absolu, it's got that oily, fresh, floral, leather, game-changing fragrance. This was complete outlier. Still is a bit, actually, if you smell the vintage compared to a lot of fragrances that have come since. Complete outlier, you know. Maybe not anything quite so strange was released until Amen in the mass designer market, which was another, 8 years after this? Once in a decade type fragrance, this may be a once in a generation fragrance, one of the truly great fragrances of all time. Do believe the hype, and the old vintage bottles, the ones with the 5-digit batch codes on. If you can, this bottle in particular is a 1996 6U143, but 5-digit batch codes and you should be fine. It suffered an absolutely despicable reformulation in the early 2000s in which somebody just went, fuck it, and poured half a ton of vanilla in, and it just ruined it. Which is an exceptional fucking segue, because the next fragrance is one of the great vanillas of all time. And this is Le de Desert Marocain. Le de Desert Marocain by Andy Tower. He released a post, apparently, which I am yet to see. But he was talking about this and maceration and oxidation over the years. So I'd like to watch that, actually, because I actually take what he says seriously, unlike all these nutcases on YouTube. Ambergris, myrrh, vetiver, spices, vanilla. It's a beautiful fragrance. It's just everything. It just shows modern perfume is still possible, and it can still be great. They're just producing shit ones because people keep buying them. It's absolutely, excuse me whilst I hydrate, it's absolutely abhorrent. It's disgraceful, really. I mean, to be honest, at some point we have to start looking at consumer habits and consumers and stuff, you know. The brands are only doing what they can to make money. Yes, they're training the public's opinions, but at some point you have to look at yourself and say, as consumers, and say, what the fuck am I doing here? You know? It's a game of tug of war. But this is one of the great fragrances, friends. This is one of the great fragrances of the 21st century, in the same way that Fahrenheit is one of the great fragrances of the 20th century. This is one of the great ones of the 21st century. You know? Absolutely sensational. Absolutely brilliant. Sprays are still dog shit, though. Fuck. Not to worry. But I love the bottles. Somebody was on stream the other day saying they hated the bottles. I was like, no, bottles are great, mate. Okay, next up is my sprayer of Leather Oud. I have, you're just going to have to believe this is Leather Oud. Did my top 5 Dior Privés with Eugene the other day. After 2.5 years of threatening said video, we finally got round to it. Leather Oud was up there. I think it was his number 1. I think it was my number 4, because his number 4 was my number 1, and my number 1 was his number 4. How interesting. This is a tremendous fragrance, but you must buy the pre-2018 reformulation, which was, again, abhorrent. Reformulations, terrible things. Stop that. It's like fucking George Lucas going back and reproducing his fucking films. Just leave them. Leave them as they were. They were fine, you know? They were fine. You don't have to fucking recut them and re-fucking jig everything. Just leave it. They were masterpieces for a reason. If you touch them, there's overwhelmingly more likely that you're going to make it shitter than better. You know, there is only like very few ways, scientists call it degrees of freedom. There are very few ways to make things better and put them in order than there are for them to fall apart. And that's what happens when you fucking reformulate things and you remaster things and re-release them for more money. George Lucas, you terrible shit. But pre-2018, Dior Privés are fantastic. This is one of the very finest. It is skank. It is leather. It is civet. It is labdanum, oud, birch. But most importantly, it's beeswax. The beeswax note in this is absolutely sensational. What on earth? See, that's why perfumers are better than me. I would have never thought to put beeswax in. Just that little bit of honey, just beautiful. Absolutely perfect. It's not honey, actually, it's beeswax. I can't describe the difference to you. I'd have to think about it for a while. I'd have to mull over it, but it's definitely a thing. Okay. Next up, yesterday. Yesterday, my scent of the day was one of my more recent acquisitions, and this is Encens Japonais. Encens Japonais by Edis de Venustis. I actually own 3 from this house now. Can you believe it? I love this shit. It's so good. Big incense, narcissus, iris, pepper, incense, a little bit like resinous kind of thing going on in the base. Gorgeous, absolutely brilliant. Like, starting to suspect there's an amberwood in here, but the way that it's used with the incense is actually very clever and works, you know. Enjoyed wearing this yesterday. Haven't used that much of it, really. I'm looking at how much I've used. I've worn this quite a few times, and yet there doesn't seem to be a hole in it. How strange. And last but not least, friends, what can I possibly say that hasn't been said about this fragrance? This is Antaeus by Chanel. This is fucking tremendous. This is the modern version as well, 2017. Aromatic at the top, resinous in the middle, floral in the middle, thick leather base, patchouli, labdanum, castoreum, oak moss type thing. Very kind of chic, masculine, dark, 80s male kind of thing, you know. Pampered, but still dark and frankly a little bit hairy, you know. Fucking brilliant scent. I absolutely love this shit, you know. But this has been my fragrance rotation, friends. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I will see you all again soon. Bye.